Coming up, Rugby World Cup winner Andy Gomarsall with a mix of fascinating stories and some seriously important business. Now leading N2S, he's tackling e-waste head-on and proving the circular economy can be a game changer. Sport, sustainability and a few surprises, and please reach out to Andy and the team at N2S if you want to be part of the solution. Enjoy. Andy Gomarsall MBE, welcome to the Tech Ledger.
Thank you very much.
First out the blocks.
I know.
So I can't believe that first out the blocks is a former England rugby international, which galls me to say it. I'm not sure what any of my parents,
Sorry about
any
that.
of my mates back home are going to say.
Sorry about that.
That's one. And just on that point, so give us what did you think about Saturday, and was it an illegal clear out or not? I guess, which is what everybody
Wow.
kind of wants to know.
But the thing is, with the way sport is now and how intrusive it is with cameras, etc. When I saw it, I honestly said straight away, no try. I was like, I just thought, we do everything to be squeaky clean, and the cameras are everywhere. I mean, in the old days there was nothing, right? And and they were like, no, I think it's okay. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure. And so we debated it, but I'm just glad to say that common sense prevailed. It was a fabulous clear out.
So Andy, I've got a few in the theme and the tone of the Tech Ledger. I've got some what I'm calling TL or Tech Ledger exposed questions, which we'll touch on as we progress, and we may as well start there. So, just as a bit of an icebreaker, what's your go-to track when you're stuck in traffic, soaking in the bath,
Oh,
or
good
hiding
question.
from life's admin?
Yeah. It's a good question. So I grew up on U2 at school, bit of Bob Dylan as well. A guy in my school as well was big on the Smiths. So it's quite an eclectic mix, really. And I'm very lucky that my wife's side of the family, they are in the music industry, and there's a guy called David Munns, who is my wife's uncle, who managed John Bon Jovi and Bryan Adams. So I used to, you'd be at a party and you meet these people and you go backstage and you can't knock a bit of John Bon Jovi to get you going, and played to the Smiths to U2.
You must have the most complex Spotify algorithm in the world on
It's
that
pretty
basis.
bad, yeah. It's pretty bad.
And then probably your karaoke number's a bit of Frank Sinatra or something like
Yeah,
that.
well, exactly, exactly. I mean, it's if you're making it sound quite good, but it's not. Yeah.
So, as exec director at N2S and co-founder of BioScope Technologies, Andy, we get into serious stuff in this. What pulled you from elite sport into the world of sustainability and e-waste? How did it all start?
Yeah, well, I'm sort of really fortunate that it was family. So my old man's Jack Gomarsall is I'm lucky to have him as a dad. I'm lucky to have him as a mentor, and he just gave me that opportunity because, frankly, and this is something that, again, I'm passionate about, the transition for anyone in any walk of life is hard. You're in an institution or an industry, and you choose to change. And if it's all you've ever known, it's really hard to go into something and go right to the bottom rung and start and build your way up. And frankly, all the experts and people talking about their industry, and you have no idea what they're talking about, is really, really hard. So I'm a big believer in the investment needed for transition. But I was lucky that I had a trusted, network suddenly that was my Jack's network that welcomed me in. And I've got to say from the outset, and there's some of these guys as well, sort of industry veterans that welcome you in, teach you the ropes, give you the lowdown, don't BS you, and as long as you're a good human being, good manners, and you don't mess anyone over. The industry, the tech industry, and it's quite a broad sense of the word for us, is really good. It's really good to you, and there's great opportunity, right? And it's ever what I loved about sport was the innovation and the how teams moved on and moved the dial. And in any sport you talk about, innovation is and the power of new moves and different styles. That's something that really inspired me, and also just I loved that interest. I was so inquisitive about it. So to be in this sector is cool because it's ever changing, right? I mean, at one point we were talking about GDPR, and then the next we're talking about AI. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, while GDPR is not sexy cool, it was part of the change, and then AI is just another game changer. And does anyone realistically know how it's going to impact us, and all the good that could come from it, but all the bad? I don't think anyone does right now, but that's quite exciting. So it's certainly something that excited me. And that element of change was a really cool place for me to be.
And what do you think have been I mean, that's really interesting. What do you think have been the biggest pivot points in the whole e-waste market since you took over from your dad? And I guess without chaining questions, did your dad still look over your shoulder and say, "No, no, no, son, I wouldn't do it like
There's plenty of, yeah. And the annoying thing is, what it's like with parents is that even if you choose to do something different to what they advise you to do, it always comes back to the point they were right. You have to go and make your own mistakes and learn. And I'm still doing that now, but so I always do go back to him and say, no, you were right there. And he just looks at me and smiles. But it has massively changed. But the shifts really, when you're dealing with technology and the metals, that has been a mature industry that's churned around. It's been fully circular for years and years and years in the metals. What we do is we manufacture with plastics and ceramics and glass and now fiber and all these things that we've designed this stuff to be quicker, faster, stronger, ultimately, less recyclable. That's the problem that we've got. We've enhanced the linear economy and not enhanced circular. And so that's been a real challenge and problem. But now there are the Deloitte's and the Ellen MacArthur Foundations and the circular economy. There's plenty that are giving full research and analysis too. And the stats are shocking. The UK right now, circular economy is 7.5%. It's staggeringly low and embarrassing, really, when you think it's 2025, and we've got AI and we've got all these things, and we're at 7.5% in every industry. It's pretty awful. So I came into it knowing that there was a great opportunity for innovation and to grow and to be more friendly to our planet and people. But it sort of shifted from, the thing was avoidance of landfill. So we were putting stuff into landfill. Then it was like, okay, let's burn it and use the burning and the power to turn it into, positive energy. And then of course that's polluting. So then it's like, okay, where's the green technologies? Where's the clean technologies? And there's not many of them. They just haven't been invested. And it's basically like the drug of getting off coal. Effectively, we need to get off that version in the e-waste world and industry. We need to get off that drug. And the other thing to say is the UK stopped doing it, stopped being a demanufacturer, which is a massive shame because of the nature of how polluting it was. So we decided not to do it. So we export everything, and we think that's solving the problem. And of course, it's not. And we're pushing and on developing nations, we're pushing on them to do more for us, and they're losing out. And it's not the inequality, ecological inequality is terrible.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I read your LinkedIn article the other week, avidly, and talking about government and politics, and how do we get kind of over the hump of acceptance and realization and actually doing something about it?
Well, for government, it's always policy change, and that's the critical part to anything, really. If the government say you got to do it, then you basically just have to adhere to it. So that's what they've got to do. But they're learning themselves, right? I've sat in so many meetings, and they're kind of they're trying to define what the title is, and you're thinking, oh my God, are we still, do we call it ICT or do we call it IT? I'm like, are we joking? Like in my head, I can't say that. I'm like positive and smiling, but I'm like, are we serious? This is where we're at, whether it's ICT, this is a too old fashioned term. I'm like, this is killing me. And so, there's this element of defining, and, of course you have to go through the process, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I think it always stems from a business opportunity, and obviously this current government are keen on green jobs, job creation. So we need to push upon that, and that's something that we're trying to do and deliver on. Is straight from university, biochemists, job creation, industry vertical, expand. That's ultimately what we're trying to achieve and do.
It's quite difficult though, isn't it? I mean, I almost find it counterintuitive myself, is if we're always trying to make a business case out of something as opposed to doing the right thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
hey, the numbers don't add up. Right. Well, the numbers don't need to add up. This is just important for humanity, for our kids, for our grandkids, our great grandkids, And I just wonder, how do we make sure we get that tipping point right without becoming over evangelical about things, because I think it shuts people off, but then equally not flipping to the other side where, hey, the business case kind of makes sense. Now, you and I probably know that the business case does make sense, we can get the numbers to work, but that shouldn't be the resounding reason for acting here.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm thinking about my rugby days, England versus France. They were always
I'm glad you said England versus France, and we didn't go down the England versus Scotland route, because that's a big pause. Okay.
2000 still lives deep and a wound in the memory. Don't you worry. And have we won the Calcutta back? Yeah, I think we have. Crikey. So yeah, the French are, they've always, from sports perspective, they've always been so innovative and, laissez-faire, free to play, just jouer. And I loved that about the French. But sometimes the mentality of them, they were so fiery, right? That temperament that just kicked it off, and they would, we were lucky to be on the end of some games where that happened and we won. But they're winning in France right now because their government are backing it, and it's, the social element, the taxation benefits. So they obviously choose nuclear, but in terms of their, from a technology point of view, they're so far ahead of us, and that's government that's driving that, and then that breeds into a business opportunity naturally, right? Because you've got to do it, and so there's taxation elements and benefits to doing the right thing. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? So we're still a little bit behind, and I honestly don't know why.
Yeah. So interesting. I'm sure the answer isn't going to be a Frenchman. Well, I don't know. It might be, but
maybe.
My second exposed question would be, sporting hero or villain, who shaped how you think about winning or losing or just showing up? So it can be a hero or a villain from the sports world.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy one for me. And it was because of my old man, and I've just been on a call with a partner and a customer that's based in Newcastle. So I was born in Durham, and my old man was part of the rugby club, but he was also part of a boxing club. And supposedly they had a social and they wanted to raise money for charity. So they all had a few drinks, and so the juices were flowing in terms of creativity and also front. So somebody wrote to Muhammad Ali and said, "Will you come to Newcastle and come and help us raise money for charity?" And he wrote back and said yes. Wow. And so it was known as the Tour of the North. So Muhammad Ali and his family, and he got remarried in this period, and he came. And so I have this literally this loved book. I've got a signed book to him from him personally, and I've got this album of basically me and Muhammad Ali when I was 5 or 6 years old, and basically that helped me shape my kind of mental kind of resilience and state. Really, that really did help me, and how lucky I was because of my old man
Yeah.
to experience that. And that I remember it vividly, but the photos bring it, they really do bring things to life, luckily, right? Because I'm of that generation, and my dad, was a keen photographer, and still is. Though those gave me, so with those mornings when I didn't want to train or whatever, and I've had various psychologists I've spoken to, but I just, what would Ali do? And you just give yourself an uppercut. It's just like, get yourself out there. What are you complaining about? And the life that he led, and the inequality, and it's just what he had to be. It wasn't the person in the ring; it was life against him.
Yeah.
And so, what have I got to feel sorry for myself about? And so that helps shape in everything that I do, this resilience. And when people say no to me, especially in business, no, that's when I go to town. I'm like, great, well done for saying no to me. Because I'm gonna hit you and come back harder, and hopefully deliver and do something groundbreaking rather than just doing the norm. So I think that, so you can't get somebody greater than that. I mean, how blessed am I? I mean, I truly feel like I'm just so blessed.
Yeah, lovely story. Didn't expect that. And it raises an interesting point, because I mean, you deal with big industry now. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of big companies, and you're trying to kind of, I guess, part educate them on the challenge, part give them solutions, part drive a business for yourself.
Yeah.
It's having, and we touched on Ellen MacArthur and Ellen MacArthur Foundation there.
Yep.
Do you think having big personalities spearheading some of the ESG and sustainability discussion will help us, because it resonates? And I was reading I think Johnny Wilkinson was writing about stuff the other week, and Will Greenwood, I think, is active in this space. Musicians, I love music, and again, a lot of musicians and musical artists are being much more vocal about the challenges ahead. Do you think this is helping us?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, things do change with, if somebody is spearheading it and they're kind of, they're out there and they suddenly become well known. It's a lot easier now than it used to be, just because of the nature of the different broadcasting opportunities you have, in terms of how many channels there are now, and you've got YouTube and you've got social media, and so that feels like a lot easier than it used to. But I think somebody spearheading it, and just never, it's that never give up sporting mentality. And as long as you're progressing, so I look at, now the circular economy as being UK 7.5%. We could, if we really accelerated this, get to 14% in the next couple of years, and that's seen as a major win, right? But you think 14% is still pathetic in a lot of ways, but that's all you can be gauged on, and be and have progression. So, and that's what we did in sport, is just build, whether it was during the week or in the game live, you're just building little moments and trying to progress. So you're just trying to be efficient and have the stats being, up there, and you're beating your opponent. And if you can do that individually and then collectively, then you're going to win the game. So I think, I think it definitely does help. And there's been various people that have stuck their neck out. And I've said, I've helped set up and join a consortium around digital poverty. And I've openly said, admin is not going to be my greatest strength, so don't use me on admin. But if you need me to go into government, or you need me to push my name out there, or whatever you want to do, I'm in. I'll go right from the front and get smashed in the face, but I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, take on that Jack Morgan kind of low clear.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I'll do the clean out.
You did make me laugh. No, you won't.
Yeah, exactly.
You did make me laugh the other week when we were WhatsApping, and you said, "Listen, I can't talk to you just now. I'm writing an RFP response."
I know. But actually, it was cathartic.
Felt like being down the paddock again, training.
Yeah, it did a little bit, but it was cathartic in that you can evangelize and do all these things, but you have to, it's just better for yourself to articulate. You can always better your, dialogue and response, and language is, today, and especially in today's world, language is so important.
Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I wished I'd studied harder at school for, especially biology and chemistry in my industry. In fact, I gave up biology, which is, so sad in a way that I'm now in that sort of industry vertical, leveraging it. It's ridiculous, but yeah.
But I think teamwork's such a huge thing, isn't it? I mean, and whether it's when you deal with businesses and clients who have got proper joined up sustainably or sustainability led businesses, it's a great team effort. I think also from the supply side, you mentioned consultants there. Like it's how do we create communities and movements, that are really, really going to shift the dial. So
Yeah,
I think, and again, it's back to that kind of like tipping point between viewing this as a traditional business where everyone's competing as opposed to really everybody should be pulling
yeah, I
together
agree.
for the greater good.
I
And
agree
it's a bit
totally.
like, I think, I can get, like I'm sure you can, when 30 guys or 35 guys have been beating each other up for 80 minutes plus the odd 5 or 10, then they come off and they hug each other and have a couple of pints.
Yeah.
So a bit of healthy competition is okay, but coming together for the greater good is the most important thing.
Yeah, I think one thing that drives what I'm trying to achieve is data and information and education, and um, so I think when you look at some of the data points, it doesn't move the dial that much. But then when you add up, so if I look at the education market, if you add up all of the schools, colleges, universities, you add that all up, macro, that is a big, whether it's an emission or whether it's an avoidance, a saving, or whatever, it's big.
Yeah,
It's big for government, right? It's huge. But yeah, in kind of its singular form, and everyone's trying to compete and win the piece of business. It's not massive. So, there's an element to be, is to be transparent, that you can walk away from things because you're just not going to move the dial, and that's fine. Just do what you've always done, unless you're going to join something that's, as you say, with competitors, drive something bigger that's bigger than you individually and as a company, so that you can drive it. And I think the digital poverty is one, definitely. If you think about, just if we're not talking about SIs, but we're talking about resellers. The
yeah,
top 100, when I first came into the industry, we're doing about 18 billion in the UK, and they're now doing, I don't know, over 30 billion. I mean, it's like incredible, but maybe even more. I haven't looked at the latest stat. But it's huge, right? And between them and the OEMs, and this is what we're doing with the NextPath device consortium, is we're saying, coming together from a macro point of view, we could solve this overnight. It's like 524,000 people in the UK do not have a digital device laptop at home. It's just crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And yet we manufacture globally something between 230 and 260 million devices per annum. That's a PC or a laptop. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. And that's the bit that, like you say, teamwork and pulling together from a macro point of view, that's really my goal.
yeah. So my final exposed question is it's about your dress sense.
Ooh,
So
interesting.
I've been known, but yeah, sorry, I don't have any photographs. So I've been known to bang on recently about wearing second-hand clothing and stuff like
Yeah,
that because there's too much fabric in the world, and the amount of water and process and everything like that is
yeah,
just
yeah.
incredible. But what fashion decision have you made in your life that would fail a sustainability audit, or your dad or
Well, the
wife
good
or
news,
kids would say, "Dad,
yeah, yeah. Well, there's plenty of that. I think so. The obvious one is to go with one color, And so if you ask my family, what the one color is, and I get it from my old man, is just anything I buy is navy blue. So they're just, obviously this is a light blue shirt today, but navy blue, right? So that's condensed the whole thing about, should I buy a red one? Should I? Simple, right? Just go down that route. So everything's navy blue, done, tick off. And then it's, can I just use this, the jeans with the holes in, they're not for trend. They are just, I am too tight these days to go off and buy Levi's. I just am. There's other things, priorities. So it doesn't mean to say I look like a bag of what, but I've sort of given up on that. It's the same with ticking the box with, you got to have the best car in the, in the car park. I was that person at the rugby club, that needed the best car. Those days are long gone. I don't care. I'm driving my daughter's VW up with L signs on it, and it gives me great pleasure when I overtake people, and they're like, "A learner overtaking me." Little do they know it's me pretending to be Lewis Hamilton. So I sort of given up on all that stuff. I really don't care. There's so many other things that I care about. But yeah, you're right. The fashion industry. It's pretty it's pretty horrendous and tragic. And I do follow, there's a couple of people on LinkedIn you can follow, and they're really big on this whole fashion industry and how the recycling of certain products. I've seen some amazing innovations where they're literally getting it from plastics, and they're able to make and use these garments through. I mean, it's just brilliant. It's very inspiring. And actually, I did an awards. There was jeans being reused, because that's one of the worst culprits. And I was part of Harrow, Richmond, Uxbridge colleges, HRUC.
Yep.
It was the first of its kind where we did a sustainability enterprise innovation awards for colleges, schools, and then HRUC themselves. So 3 categories. And some of the innovation, they're 16 to 18-year-olds, they're the next generation. And it was amazing. I saw one that was around the jeans market, and you had a lot in there around the sea waste, the plastics in sea, and how you can collect it through, clever technologies. It was so inspiring. And those winners were announced recently, and the prize was to go to MIT, the first of its kind, for 2 weeks in Massachusetts to go and learn off the best of the best. Wow. And the whole family went as well. And I was like, wow, that's what we need more of. It's just really inspiring. So it's great to judge that and see all the stuff that they care about and that they want to solve, right? It's amazing. So yeah, hopefully the future is bright.
Brilliant. What a lovely note to finish on there. That really inspiring story. Andy, I could talk to you all afternoon about this stuff, and I dare say we'll talk again and again about it. But thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule today. And good luck.
Yeah, thanks so much. See you soon.